Welcome to Chapter 11 Human Resource Management Finding and Keeping the Best Employees. Working with people is just the beginning of HR. HR really, it's the only department that touches every other department in the organization. Uh, Obviously, human resource begins with determining human resource needs, recruiting, selecting, developing, motivating, evaluating, compensating, and scheduling employees. But HR has grown and their role has grown because the increased recognition as employees as a resource and changes in laws that rewrote old workplace practices. The human resource challenge. There's many challenges that HR faces. Multi-generational workforces, shortages of trained workers in growth areas, worker shortage in skilled trades, increasing numbers of single parent and two income families, expanding global markets with low wage workers and the global business market, increasing benefit demands and benefit costs, and a decreased sense of employee loyalty. In addition to all these challenges, there's challenges affecting HR management with laws. Some of these laws include the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which Title VII prohibits discrimination in hiring, firing, compensation, training teams, conditions, or privileges of employment based on race, religion, creed, sex, national origin, or age. Other laws that could affect HR: the 1972 Equal Opportunity Act. The EEOA strengthened the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and gave the EEOC the right to issue workplace guidelines for acceptable employer conduct. The EEOC could mandate specific record keeping procedures and was vested with the power of enforcement. Some procedures of the EEOC: affirmative action, which employment activities designed to right past wrongs by increasing opportunities for minorities and women, and reverse discrimination, which is discrimination against whites or males in hiring or promotion. These are some of the controversial procedures of the EEOC. Also, the Civil Rights Act of 1991. The Civil Rights Act of 1991 gave victims of discrimination the right to a jury trial and possible damages. In addition, it ensures that employers doing business with the federal government comply with the non-discrimination and affirmative action laws. Some other laws that affect HR management is the ADA Act, the American with Disabilities Act. It requires employers to give applicants with physical or mental disabilities the same consideration. And in 2008 and 2011, it expanded. 2011, it saw regulations that widen the range of disabilities covered by the ADA and shift the burden of proof of disability from employees to employers. The Age Discrimination Act protects workers 40 and over from employment and workplace discrimination, hiring, and firing. So you can see there's a lot of laws. So not only does HR have a lot of responsibility when it comes to recruiting, training, motivating, working with different parts of the organization, but they also have to protect the organization or the firm when it comes to different laws for the practice of hiring individuals. So determining a firm's human resource need, and we'll talk about the planning process. Step one: preparing a human resource inventory of employees and skills. Preparing job analysis, and usually these job analysis have a written job description. Assessing future human resource demand, speaking with other departments to accurately figure out future needs. Assessing the future labor supply. Obviously, the supply needs to meet your needs. And then establishing a strategic plan to fill those needs with the supply at hand. So, what is a job analysis? A job analysis is a study is what is done by employees who hold various job titles. And like I discussed in the steps above, this usually includes a description, which is a summary of the objectives of a job, of the type of work to be done, the responsibilities and duties, the working conditions, and the relationship of the job to other functions. Job specifications are also included, which is a written summary of the minimum qualifications required to do that particular job. When we talk about recruitment and recruiting employees from a diverse population, this is the set of activities used to obtain a sufficient number of the right people at the right time. Human resource managers use both internal and external sources to recruit employees. Small businesses often make use of web sources like Glassdoor, Indeed, and LinkedIn to recruit employees. Selecting the employees who will be productive is the process of gathering information and deciding who should be hired under legal guidelines for the best interests of both the individual as well as the organization. The steps in the selection process usually are obtaining an application form from the applicant, conducting an initial and follow-up interviews, giving employment tests if it's a skilled job or a job that requires a certain knowledge, conducting background investigations, obtaining results from physical exams. Sometimes this isn't necessary, but sometimes with certain jobs this is. And then establishing a trial or probationary period. Contingent workers, this is another opportunity for hiring. And contingent workers are workers who do not have the expectation of regular full time employment. In fact, there's about 5.7 million contingent workers in the U.S., and a majority of these workers are under 25. Why do companies hire contingent workers? Well, sometimes companies hire them when full-time workers are on leave during periods of peak demand, like seasons. We're coming up on a Christmas season when there may be contingent workers. There's a lot of contingent workers being hired by certain stores in uncertain economic times to save on employee benefits that you would have to pay out and to screen and candidates for future employment, basically acting as a trial run. Students and contingent workforce. With temporary staffing agencies, companies have easier access to screen workers more than ever. Worker information is entered into their databases, and when students come back to town, they can call the agency and ask them to put their names into the system for work. So, this is one way that a lot of a lot of contingency workers get jobs. Focusing on training and development of employees. Training and development are all the attempts to improve productivity by increasing an employee's ability to perform. Training focuses on short term skills, development focuses on long term abilities. Three steps of training and development: assessing organizational needs and employee skills to determine the training needs, designing and training activities to meet identified needs, and then evaluating the training's effectiveness. The most commonly used training and development activities by company are orientation. New hire orientation is done in a majority of companies. On the job training is the easiest way for people to learn a new skill or a new procedure. Apprenticeships are used by some highly skilled workers. Off the job training is used, online training, vestibule training, as well as job simulation. Management development. Developing managers. This is the process of training and educating employees to become good managers and then monitoring the progress of their managerial skills over time. This training includes on the job coaching, understudy positions, job rotation, and off the job courses and training. Networking is a process of establishing and maintaining contacts with key managers in one's own organization. That way, you can learn things and develop relationships that help you develop as a manager. Mentors are experienced employees who supervise and coach lower level employees by introducing them to the right people and also being their organizational sponsor. Networking and mentoring go beyond the work environment but prove as a good training and developmental program. Diversity is also important in management development. And reasons to develop female and minority managers, it isn't about legality, morality, or morale, but rather about bringing more talent in the door, whoever it may be. The best women and minorities will become harder to attract, so companies have to commit to development to have an edge. And having more women and minorities at all levels lets businesses serve their women and minority customers better. So appraising employee performance. When we talk about performance appraisal, this is the evaluation that measures employee performance against established standards and benchmarks in order to make decisions about promotions, compensation, training, or termination. A 360-degree review gives managers opinions from people at all different levels to get a more accurate idea of the worker's abilities. It helps to put in perspective not only your thoughts about the employee, but other people's thoughts about the employee in the organization. 6 steps of a standard performance appraisal: establishing performance standards that are understandable, measurable, and reasonable, communicating those standards, evaluating the employee's performance against those standards, discussing the results with that employee, taking corrective action if necessary, and using the results to make decisions. A managed and competitive compensation programs helps companies attract the kinds of employees that the business needs, build employee incentive to work efficiently and productively, keep valued employees from leaving or going to the competitors, maintaining a high competitive market position, providing employees financial security through wages and fringe benefits as well. Compensating teams are team based pay programs that are more challenging than individual pay systems. The two most common methods for teams involve a skill based pay system and a gain sharing pay system. Skill based is pay that's increased as team members learn and apply new skills. Gain sharing is pay increasing as a performance increases compared to previous performance. Now, there's no one right way over the other. It needs to fit into your business uh, objectives and business practices. Fringe benefits are things that includes sick leave pay, vacation pay, pension plans, plans, and these are additional compensation to employees beyond their base wages. Some other fringe benefits include company cars, country club memberships, discounted massages, special home mortgage rates, paid and unpaid sabbaticals, daycare, executive dining rooms, dental, student loan, cafeteria style fringe benefits are a fringe benefit plan that allows employees to choose benefits that they want up to a certain dollar amount. Some soft benefits may include on site haircuts, concierge, free meals, free snacks, free car washes, and paid parental leave. Scheduling employees to meet organizational employee needs. There's different types of schedules, and scheduling is never an easy situation. A flex time scheduling plan is a work schedule that gives employees some freedom to choose when to work as long as they work the required number of hours during a pay period. Whereas a compressed work week is a work schedule that allows employees to work a full number of hours per week but in fewer days. So flex time plans, you'll often see these with restaurants or different type of service positions. And compressed work weeks are often associated with plants and machinery companies where um, you can have a floor on um, 20 going 24 hours a day, so people can work their certain number of hours in a week in a certain number of days. Job sharing is an arrangement whereby two part time employees share that one full time job, and assistants often do this. Flex time plans are require core time. This is the period when all employees are expected to be at their job stations. Flex time is difficult to incorporate into shift work, and managers have to work longer hours because people are working at different times. Communication among employees can also be difficult under flex time, and managers have to be alert of any system abuses. Compressed work weeks, the employees enjoy a long weekend after working long days. Productivity is often a concern. And an example of this is restaurants, is one of them. Nurses often work compressed work weeks. Home based work. Did you know that 24% of Americans work from home at least once per week? Obviously, during this pandemic, it's even more. But 68% of Americans expect to work remotely in the future. And after this pandemic is over, it's going to look completely different. Job sharing plans, the benefits are that it provides employment opportunities for many people who cannot work full time. Workers tend to be enthusiastic and productive, and absenteeism and tardiness are reduced. Employers can also schedule part time workers in peak demand periods, and experienced employees who might otherwise have retired are often retained. Let's talk a little bit about getting rid or moving employees up, over, and out. Employees are promoted or reassigned. Employees are also terminated due to poor performance or economic situations. When it comes to terminating employees, as the economic crisis grew, more and more employees have had to lay off employees. As the pandemic's got worse, same thing. Even when the economy is booming, employers are hesitant to hire full time workers because of the cost of termination. Because firing employees is more difficult for employers because laws preventing termination for certain acts. And some of these, there's some ways that you can avoid wrongful discharge lawsuits, and Figure 11.8 has a list of them. So, prepare before hiring by requiring recruits to sign a statement that retains a manager's freedom to terminate at will. In fact, some states have a termination at will clause. Don't make unintentional promises by using such terms as permanent employment. Document the reasons before firing and make sure you have an unquestionable business reason for the firing. Fire the worst first and being consistent and disciplined. Buy out bad risk by offering severance pay. Be sure to give employees the true reasons they're being fired. If you do not, you cannot reveal it to a recruiter asking for a reference without risking a defamation lawsuit. And disclose the reasons for an employee's dismissal to that person's potential new employees. That's it for Chapter 11.